So we're meeting here today with Matt Ballard, myself. Matt and I have known each other for a while. Matt, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, Matt Ballard. I'm the owner and CEO of Sunrise Mechanical in Las Vegas. Met Tom a number of years back through some common friends. He's helped me with a couple of things, but I got my start back in HVAC when I was a teenager. My dad owns an air conditioning contracting company in Las Vegas. So I did install, I did service, did sales, just about everything, and eventually ended up owning Sunrise Mechanical now.
Yeah, and Sunrise Mechanical, you guys are mostly new construction,
Yeah.
and now you have a service department as well since you bought it?
So the Sunrise Mechanical, when we purchased it, was probably about 90% residential new construction. And they had a service department, very small part of the business. And it was kind of something that morphed into a service department. In reality, it was kind of it was really an extended warranty department to service all of the new homes that they built. And so the big focus this year has been building out service.
Awesome. And can you give me a rough idea of the size? If you don't want to say revenue, could you say like the number of employees they have?
Yeah, so we have 203 employees right now. We'll probably do right around 56 to 58 million revenue total this year.
Awesome. That's really cool. So to give you guys an idea, Matt and I have known each other for what, 5 years now?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. So, and we met because I was doing a deal in Las Vegas with another guy named Jerry Finney.
Yep.
Close mutual friend of ours. A lot of people know who Jerry is. He talks to everybody and is really a good connector and introduced me to Matt. And then, we kind of kept in contact and went through, you ended up becoming let's just say you were a distributor at first. You worked as a distributor.
So I went from my family's business to the wholesale industry. I was at Geary Pacific and ran a couple product divisions for them for a number of years. Left that, got into the training consulting space, and that's actually when I met Tom, and he told me I was dumb.
I told him specifically, don't be a consultant, you'll hate it.
Yeah.
I said, you'll wake up one day and be like, wow, I'm making good money, but like I'm working around the clock, and if I don't keep working around the clock, all the money goes away.
And he was exactly right.
So it's like a year later, he calls. He's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" Yeah, I'm not doing the consulting thing anymore.
Yeah, so I got into became a partner in a holding company that was acquiring businesses based off a relationship that Tom had introduced me to some people, and it was a good fit.
Yeah, they were at my office, and this is like 2 weeks after Matt said, "Hey, I want to get out of consulting." And this holding company said, "Hey, do you know somebody?" I'm like, I actually do. He just happened to say that he wants to get out of consulting right now. And so he moved over, went there.
Yep.
Were you the COO?
Yeah, so I was the COO for a couple of years there, helped improve the operations at the companies that they were buying. Kind of the thesis there was that you could buy new construction businesses or like commercial companies and, the non-traditional acquisitions in the space and be able to build service out from them. So spent a little time doing that for them and did a little bit of the acquisition side as well.
I think the key on this is because later on out of that, we can't get into it too much, but bottom line is he ends up getting out and being able to buy this new construction company.
Yeah.
Decent size, over 200 employees. It was profitable at the time, so it wasn't just a dead, deal they had to fix.
No, it was it's I can't say it was. It is a great company. It was a great company when we acquired it. It's a great company now. We're just working to improve it. I mean, the people that we bought the business from were fantastic. And it really built something impressive.
What I get out of this though is that, and this has happened to me a lot of times in life, is that you don't know who you're meeting with or who you're talking to or what that could lead to. And 99% of the time or 95% of the time, it's going to lead to nothing. You're going to build a relationship, have fun, talk to somebody, whatever. But a lot of times, especially in the trades, a lot of times it's a small industry and connections get made. And if you keep that network going, things come of that. I think the best advice I can give to somebody is like when you're meeting with people, like don't become a jackass.
That's a solid piece of advice. No, the relationships really matter so much. And one of the reasons why we were able to execute on this deal was because I have no problem saying this, is that my dad has a great reputation in Las Vegas. And so, however, we did not have a relationship with the sellers of Sunrise Mechanical, but they knew the reputation. They knew the reputation of my dad. They knew the reputation of his company. They knew my reputation, which just opened the doors to so much easier conversations in the process.
Interesting. I didn't even know that side of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I mean, it's really funny how we found the deal. It was a cold call. And a day later, I was on a Zoom call with the sellers. And within 5 minutes, we'd made just tons of personal connections from people that we'd known mutually for over the years. And, they were able to check references and realize that, like, I was a decent human being, that, this would be a good deal. And so it just made everything a lot easier, maintaining the reputation, maintaining relationships with all the people that you've come in contact with.
Yeah. I think this is interesting. You're 40 years old, right?
Yep.
Our birthdays are 2 days apart. That's how we know that we're the same age.
And Tom looks considerably older than me. Definitely not 2 days.
I'd say if I could put a plug in, no pun intended, for hair transplants, I'd highly recommend it. But go to a reputable place, and you could actually have hair, unlike myself. So it might help with the age look.
There you go.
But no, so we're 2 days apart. He's 40 years old. He bought a company that's 200 and something employees. I think the key for this with people listening is that you don't have to have. Matt wasn't sitting on $50 million or $100 million in cash in the bank.
Nope.
Parents didn't give you any money to do this.
None. Nothing.
Obviously, you just mentioned your dad helped you in the sense that like he had a good reputation in town, but that was pretty much the only thing you got out of that, right?
That was it. No, I mean, I think I kind of see what you're talking about. But yeah, we did not have millions and millions and millions of dollars to drop on this deal. And so the way that we're able to get it done was through relationships and through networking and using those resources that we had in order to put together all the financing to make this thing work.
Yeah, and I promised Matt we wouldn't go into details on this. We won't, but the deal went in the sense that in this case, you got the bank to give you a significant amount of leverage.
Yep.
The bank believed in what you were doing.
Yeah.
You talked them through it, said, this is my plan, this is the model, this is where we're going. And you were able to get the bank to execute on that deal.
Yeah. I mean, I have a business partner. His name's David Brown. He's our CFO as well. He's fantastic. But he's worked in the space. I mean, he's 29 years old. But he's made such amazing connections, and he knows the finance side of the business so well that, like, having him on board when we went to present this stuff to investment committees and things like that, it was easy.
And he didn't put any money in either, right?
We each put a little bit of our own personal money in, but not a significant amount. And as a result of the deal, the lending partner is actually a shareholder with us too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think a lot of the cases, I think a lot of people are afraid to go into the bank with a business plan and say, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And some banks are open to it. And the reality is a lot of banks are just going to say no, and that's okay. There's a lot of banks out there that are willing to help.
You'd mentioned Jerry Finney earlier. I was actually talking with him just a few weeks ago, and we're kind of reminiscing over some of the wins that we've had in our careers and all the times that we've crossed paths. And one thing that we actually started talking about that most people I don't think realize is that there is so much capital that's available for good people that know their craft. You just got to get connected with the right people that know how to deploy it. And that was like probably the greatest advantage that we had, is we'd made such an amazing relationship with a banker that was able to take his relationships that he developed over the past 40 years and put us in front of the right people. And then at that point, it was sell the vision, and we did it pretty successfully.
You did sell the vision.
Yeah.
But then I think more importantly, what you mentioned is you said, hey, they're ready to deploy capital for people that know their craft.
Absolutely.
And to put it in perspective, I was writing this in the book about the Fetch-A-Tech sale, is there's tons and tons and tons of money out there that people, they need to deploy it. They can't have it sitting there in the bank. They don't want to get, a couple of % interest on a treasury note or something.
Yeah.
Like, they want good returns, but they need people that can actually deploy it. So in my mind, I was always thinking like, oh my gosh, I got to go beg the bank to do this. No, the bank wants to give you money.
They do.
They just want to make sure they're going to get a return first. And so they're looking for you.
Yeah. The more exposure that I've had on like the fundraise side of our space, the more I've come to realize that access to capital should not be an issue. If I've come across a number of people where that's the problem that they're facing, they haven't talked to enough people, they haven't been connected with the right people, or they can't sell the vision well enough. But when the deals make sense financially for those lenders, they want to get involved. And it was, that's what we saw firsthand, is it wasn't like we just had one lender that was like, here, take some money. We talked with a lot of different lenders, and the deal structure that we'd put in place was so advantageous for everybody involved in the transaction, the sellers, the buyers, the bank, the lenders, everybody, that it wasn't too difficult to get it done. We actually, from the time that we had our deal under contract with David and I, we closed in 60 days.
Awesome.
Yeah. Fast close.
Yeah. You had a team doing due diligence on that?
We did that ourselves in conjunction with the bank, and we're able to get through that entire process. We'd already had a quality of earnings that was done on the business that previously, so that helped out significantly. So it was get everybody comfortable with the terms of the deal that we'd negotiated, and then let's just make it happen.
Did you learn anything or anything you can share with the listeners on, like, if they were looking at doing something like this, how would they start talking to banks? What would be the first step? What would they be thinking about?
I think for me, if I had to go back and do this again, I would make sure that I had a deal in place that was good enough that the banks want to be a part of. And so focusing on finding the right deal is huge. You can't buy at the traditional multiples that you see for some of these larger companies. Banks aren't nearly as interested in doing that with a kind of, specifically our situation of two guys.
Two guys with very little money.
Two guys
trying
with
to buy
with not a whole lot of cash,
person,
buying a behemoth of a company here in Las Vegas. And new construction didn't make it any easier, because there's a certain level of risk that you get with new construction that you don't get with a traditional service business. But it would really be dialing in, making sure that I've got the right deal in place, that I've got the right existing company, that I've got the right transition plan, that all of those things have been worked out, because
and that you can clearly articulate it to the bank.
That you can clearly articulate all the aspects of the deal, and not just the deal, the transaction, but what that looks like moving forward too. Because ultimately, they're saying, we have faith in you, so we're going to give you this money, and we expect a return on our investment. So it can't be just about the deal. It has to be about, like, what is the operational plan moving forward after the close of the sale? And are our projections right? Are we hitting the metrics that we said we were going to hit? Because that's our lender. We have to make sure and deliver on the promises that we make too.
Can you tell us about, when did the acquisition close in December?
December 29th. The last wire hit like 20 minutes before the Fed closed for the year. And it was kind of crazy, because we actually had a mandate from the sellers that if we were going to do the deal, we had to have it done before the end of 2023. And
wow.
We closed it literally 20 minutes before that cutoff line, because they gave us a hard stop, and they basically said, if you can't close this year, we're not going to sell to you. So come January 1st, we're going to turn around and put it with a business broker. We're going to list the business, and we're going to go that route. And so we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we were able to get that done right in the nick of time.
Wow. Were you like sweating all the way?
Sweating bullets. Like I can't remember the last time I felt so sick. And my business partner, David, he's from Virginia. And And what was funny is, so like right after Christmas, I think it was the 26th, he flew out to Las Vegas, and he just never left. So that final week, it was just, 14, 16 hours a day working through everything, the last minute things that come up that we had to work through, get the paperwork all done, everybody signs, and then we had like 2 days to breathe over the holiday for New Year's, and then January 2nd came around, and we were right there in front of the company announcing that the acquisition had happened, and we're starting clean.
Wow. I can't tell
pretty
you.
Crazy.
I've heard from so many people that they get sick during close time, like physically ill. I was literally signing my docs, and the last docs I signed when I was selling, I was literally laying in bed signing the DocuSign, and I was just throwing up and everything else.
So it's funny you bring that up. So most of the month of December, I had pneumonia. I was sick out of my mind. Like I'd wake up in the morning and just medicate and try to get through the day and seem somewhat professional. Had it not been for David, I mean, he actually got sick too during that last month. But had it not been for him, I don't think we could have made that deal happen. He was so good, and he was East Coast too. So he would wake up early on the East Coast, work through anything that we had to work through before I was even out of bed. And then he would still work with me all day long until I was done. I mean, he was putting in like 18+ hour days, legitimately, 7 days a week. So yeah, it was stressful. Our health went to crap during that month.
I think it just suppresses when you get that stressed, your immune system gets suppressed, and you start getting, all kinds of stuff that your immune system just would have fought off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, so can you tell us about how it's going now? Since that was in December, we're recording this in late August. It's like 9 months later.
Yeah.
Just tell us what you can say. I know you can't.
Well, there's certain things in terms of like the deal structure that, obviously we have some non-disclosures to talk about. But in terms of how it's gone this year, starting January 2nd when we took over operational control today, we've put a big focus on the service side of the business, knowing that it's just an amazing opportunity. Sunrise Mechanical is so unique because for decades, they've been doing new construction work. And so all these houses that Sunrise has done has got the thermostats on the wall with our name and phone number. And so we looked at that and said, we think that there's just an absolute tremendous amount of opportunity with service. So when we come in, we don't want to disrupt mechanical, which is producing great return. It's a very, very healthy business. We'll probably do 5,600 to 5,800 homes this year.
Wow.
It's a lot of houses. And so the idea was don't break the thing that pays for everything.
Yeah.
And so we came in and did very little with the mechanical business other than renegotiating some vendor contracts. When you say mechanical,
you're talking about commercial construction.
Yeah. So we renegotiated some pricing and some contracts that we had on the vendor side of the new construction side of the company, which added a couple points to our
EBITDA.
Yep. Which was pretty cool. Had I not been in wholesale for as long as I was, I wouldn't have had the relationships or known how to go about doing some of those things. But that's a superpower, is being able to see behind the curtain for a few years. What drives wholesalers, the type of margins that they can work off of. I used to help build some of these new construction programs with different manufacturers for contractors all over the country when I was in wholesale. So I think that gave us kind of a unique position. And so that's really the only thing that we've done on the construction business is just trying to buy better.
So what'd you do on the service side?
Service side, it was like a hard reset from after, let's see, I think it was about February that is when we started to actually push. Because, you always have that transition period when you come in and everybody's unsure of you and they don't know who you are and they don't know what your intentions are. And so we came in and we said, we're not going to do anything major. We're not going to make any major changes until we get a lot more comfortable with the day-to-day operation of the business. And so it's probably early to mid-February is when we started. And so one of the first things that we did was change the compensation plans for all the field staff, so installers and service techs. And we did that because, again, this was kind of like an expanded warranty department is kind of how it was viewed.
So you weren't really making any money in service.
Not much. I mean, like you said, they did a little over $6 million last year, or I don't know if I said that, but they did a little over $6 million in service, and that's with residential HVAC.
That's $6 million revenue, by the way.
Revenue, yeah. Residential HVAC, commercial HVAC, and plumbing. So there's 3 different parts in that service business, and so we went in and said we need to make sure that all of our employees, all of our field staff, everybody's in alignment with us of what we're trying to achieve. And it's always hard to go into those environments and say, well, we're underpriced and, different things like that. And it's like we knew that we needed to raise pricing. So that was one of the first things that we did is we went in and raised pricing, but at the exact same time, we changed the compensation plans for all the field staff so that they could get a little bit more than they'd been getting. So instead of just a straight hourly based pay, we threw on spiffs and commissions for all the stuff that they're, either repairing or replacing.
So now they had a reason to hustle.
Now they had a reason to go out and do more than what their hourly was. And the funny thing is, like, I threatened them from the very beginning, like, hey, I'm going to give you more access to earning potential. We're going to give you commission. We're going to do all these things, but I can't have you continue to make the same hourly rate and get paid all the additional. So I kept telling them, like, I'm going to cut your hourly rate. And I kept telling them that I was going to do it for months and months and months on end. And eventually got to the point where I'm like, things are going so well, I'm not going to cut their hourly. I'm going to let them still make the same hourly that they've been making, but increase the incentives in other areas for more performance-based pay. And what I found is like that, I've never done that before. I've always very much been solely a performance pay operator. And with this company, it's shifted. Mm-hmm. So all the service techs get paid a decent hourly. They get aggressive commission in terms of replacements, duct systems, indoor air quality, and there's specific bonuses based off of certain repairs that they can sell as well.
Can you give us any info on the results of that service department now?
Yeah, so in 8 months, we already have outperformed last year on top line revenue, and we surpassed the profit after, I think it was after May. So we made last year's profit through May and beat the revenue number just in the past few weeks.
That's
so sweet. Right now, so July, we improved 86% over 2023.
Congrats. And by the way, that's while the rest of the country is having a down year.
Oh, and that was also while we were implementing Service Titan in the middle of the summer. Well, that was not a...
Implementing Service Titan at a new construction company.
Yeah.
And
in June and July.
In June and July, in the middle of the busy season.
In like the hottest summer that we've had in who knows how long. So
110, 115 degree heat.
Yeah. It was very ambitious. I'm glad we did it. I wish we would have done it sooner or would have been able to complete it sooner, but it worked out well. But it's been kind of cool. So like May this year, May was the highest grossing revenue month in the history of the service business. And then June beat that, and we did it in June, and then we beat it in July, and August is pacing to do about 35 to 40% more than what we were doing last year as well. So we're currently on pace to finish out right between 11.5 to 12 million this year, just in the service side of the business.
So you basically doubled the size of your service department.
Yeah.
In that first year.
Yeah, and it's been painful. Like it's not easy to double the size of a business in that short a period of time, especially with, also understanding the dynamic is that most of the employees that we were working with on the service company had been at Sunrise for years.
Oh,
and so it wasn't just like, a clean slate. It was, we've got a bunch of guys that have been operating the same way for a long time, that now we have to do something that we look at as wildly different than what they were doing before, and we got to get them to buy in on that. Yeah. And so that was a challenge, but we got the buy-in as soon as they realized that we were willing to invest in them. We wanted them to succeed, and they can, I'm sure they'll probably listen to this and just be annoyed when I say this, but like my philosophy. It's very much in alignment with Sir Richard Branson. It's like, take care of your people and they'll take care of your customers. but they had to learn that like that's really how we operated, because it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we're going to take care of our people and we're going to do these things, but if they don't see the actions behind that to validate those statements, then they just think that you're full of crap and you're just there to suck every penny out of the business, and they're going to be stuck in the same position that they were in before. And it's like, no, we wanted to make sure that they understood that our goal is to make sure that our people are paid in the top 10 percentile in their market. So we want to have the top paid technicians. We want to have the top paid installers. We want to provide that environment. My partner and I, David, we kind of joke that like one of our superpowers is that we're not greedy. We love being able to change certain things at the company where there's a direct financial benefit for these families. And, one of the really cool things that we've got to experience is just in the past couple of weeks, we've been getting income verification from banks for employees. And it's like, okay, so I've got employees that have never owned a home before in their life now are in the process of buying houses because they can. Two of our installers in particular, first homes.
Wow.
And, that's one summer. And so for me, that part right there is so cool to be able to see, their life shift in a way so positively for them, where they can get a little bit more breathing room, a little bit more security.
I think that's critical. I've always heard the term pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Yep.
And I think greed to some extent, I mean, it's what pushes capitalism forward, and it's okay to an extent. It's when you get too greedy and you just want everything, and then your employees don't benefit, the people around you don't benefit. I mean, what good is it if you can have the giant mansion in the hills on your private lake, but no one's there to share it with you?
Exactly.
And
that's been our philosophy very much, is that we want our employees, our team members to be very much in the mindset that, they get a piece of the pie as well. So we're currently working on some things right now with our lending partner, our bank, to carve out a little bit of equity that we can be able to hand off to some of our key employees and be able to allow other employees, as they desire, to invest in the business and be part of what they're working for every single day.
So I've got a few key points that I think I've heard from you. One is have a clear plan that you can clearly articulate to a bank and take it to a bank. And don't worry about going to one and hearing no and just that's it.
Yep.
The bank is not a thing. There's banks, plural. Go out there, talk to them, figure out what you got to do.
And not even just the traditional banks. It's not just the Wells Fargos and the Chases of the world that want to lend. There's so many non-traditional lenders that are out there.
So clear, articulate plan to the banks, see multiple banks, talk to a lot of people, see what you can do. Number one. Number two, when you did acquire the business, you said a lot of people were stuck in their ways and didn't want to change because they had been there a long time, but you're able to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Number three, you did wait about a month and a half from when you got in there to start changing things.
Yeah.
I think it depends on your business. You probably have to figure out whether or not you can change right away or whatever. One of the companies I bought, the one you were aware of, we were losing money so much we had no choice. As soon as we got it, it was like, we got to change now.
Yeah.
And then another thing is pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't try to be too greedy. And along with that, you also mentioned compensation plans, which I think makes a massive difference once your people have the incentive to start working towards it. So you said you love performance pay. Right now you're not full performance pay, but you did build performance pay into your plans.
So we've got kind of like that hybrid right now where they get the security of an hourly and they get the upside of performance-based pay. So the guys that really want to go out and provide high-level service, 5-star service every single time, those guys are doing really well.
If you didn't have the long-standing employees for 30 years that were stuck in those old ways, do you think you would have done the hybrid, or you think it would have just gone to performance pay?
No, I would have gone just straight to performance pay. Yeah, there's no question about that. It would have been, day one, let's go ahead and this is what we're going to build off of. But it ended up working out so well because we're still very profitable. We're still extremely busy. We continue to grow. We continue to have new opportunity. And we've gotten rid of a lot of the kind of the insecurities that, would be normal in this type of a situation with an acquisition, not knowing who's coming in or what the long-term plan is. But it's really been about making sure that they understand what we're trying to work towards and that they're necessary for us to achieve what we want. And so we have no problem telling them that, like, hey guys, we recognize without you going out there and doing this work, we got nothing. So we want to make sure that they always understand like how important they are to us and how much we value them. And we just try to continue to find new ways to reinvest in them and make sure that they understand that we're all in alignment and we're all moving towards the same goal.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for everything. And we'll see you on the next one.